Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another edition of Streaming with the Devs. Oddly enough, it's not Saturday. Instead, it's the middle of the week. Don't ask me how that happened. We don't like calendars, apparently. My name is Steven, also known as Slave to Machine. I'm also the editor-in-chief for the website, which is, by the way, OP Noobs. So let me get the shameless plug out of the way. We are a community of gamers. Everything that you see on our site and on our Twitch channel is totally made for you, and by us as well. So if anybody ever wants to contribute, or if you think we're slacking and you want to throw something up on the site, please do so. Everything is curated by just a very select group of people behind the scenes. And again, it's a community for gamers by gamers. Today, however, we are on a call interviewing Jake Kim of HandMade Games. He just released or HandMade Game just released Rooms, the Unsolvable Puzzle for PC, Mac, and Linux. This game has a fairly long history behind it, and as does Jake Kim as well. So Jake, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
So first off, oh, and by the way, that other guy on the call, that's Nick. He's going to be fielding all the chat questions that are down in the stream. We are giving away 2 copies wonderfully provided by Jake and HandMade Games. We're giving 2 of them away, so if you have a really good question, you will get a key. If it's a bad question, tough luck. You can go to Steam and you can buy it like everybody else. You damn dirty person, you. So let's get right into it. So tell me, Jake, tell me a little bit of the history behind HandMade Games. Pardon me for saying this, it looks like it is literally just you. Tell us a little bit about your backstory. Oh, Jake, I think you're muted.
Yeah. No.
Okay, sorry. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
So it started as a student project back in 2006 when I was in Sungkyunkwan University in South Korea. It was 2 people then when I was making Rooms, the main building. And then we got separated. One went to military, and I went to USC for studying in graduate school. And that was like 2010. And then I worked with other company called Kuno Interactive to make Rooms, the Unsolvable Puzzle. And now I'm down with them, and now I'm alone again, but still looking for someone to work with.
Okay. So did you do everything with Rooms? Did you create the art side, or did you create the art assets, the music, everything?
No.
Okay.
For Rooms 1, mostly, except the music and the art. But for Rooms 2, I directed it. While co-working with artists and programmers and composers in Kuno Interactive.
Okay. So if I may ask, what was your major? What was your field of study when you were in school?
In undergraduate, I studied film, TV, and multimedia. And in graduate study, I majored in interactive media and games.
So is this something that you always wanted to do? Because we've talked to a lot of developers in the past, and some of them have gone through some very weird career paths. Is this something that you always wanted to do?
Yeah, I've been wanting to make games since I was a middle school student.
And it looks like you do have a number of games, and they've all received accolades from about 2006 on. So you're obviously very good at what you do. My question is, the first thing I thought when I was looking at Rooms was my grandfather had given out these little sliding number puzzles to all of us as we were growing up. Is that basically where this game came from?
Yeah, it is definitely part of the inspiration. And I say that when I have an interview. But the more direct inspiration came from an animation that
Okay.
I watched from an animation class.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
No, go ahead, please.
it's called the Exciting Love Story.
Hmm.
You can just find that on YouTube, and
Oh, sure.
it looks like rooms. It has eight. The screen is divided in eight planes, and like um, the characters walking around the different area,
Hmm.
different space.
Okay.
Mm,
So I mean, it's
that's
funny.
it.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the art style because the art style kind of, to me, it the first thing I thought of when I saw the art style was there was a Tim, I think it was a Tim Burton movie called Coraline that I recently, yeah, I
Tim Burton.
recently saw. Even though it came out a while ago, I just recently saw it, stop motion animation, and there's a distinct draw from that. Is that where that art style came from?
Yeah, for rooms two, it is specifically Coraline,
Hmm.
mostly Coraline and some Pan's Labyrinth.
Mm, okay.
We
Yeah. Now it's to jump back to handmade games for a little bit. I noticed on the about page you specifically called out the term indie games or indie gaming. You said something to the effect of uh, you do not make indie games, you instead make games independently. What do you feel the difference is? Is indie game or making indie games, is that just a term you don't like, or is there a specific reason behind your philosophy?
Yeah, so there's something, why I reason why I said that because by saying indie games, you are defining what indie game is like. You are defining in some way it's like it is maybe it's a small budget, is it puzzle platformer games,
Hmm.
or is it like even less than three people?
Hmm.
It always, but there is always so many different cases. You cannot say this is indie game or not. So uh, instead of trying to define something as indie games, I would say it is just make games independently, and whatever you make will be indie games or whatever.
So it's basically it's not that you have a distaste for indie games. It's just that you don't want to pigeonhole yourself. You don't want to put yourself in a little box. You
Mhm.
don't want to be in that same grouping. Is it? How do you feel about some of the games that are being released lately? Are there any games that kind of call to you uh, at all in the indie set? What games are you playing, if any, right? If you have time to do so uh, at current.
These days,
Yes.
um, well, I haven't been following indie
Yeah.
indie
I don't mean to put you
games.
on the spot, but I was just wondering if there's anything, because in many art forms, an artist will usually try to avoid other people's artwork so that they don't feel like they're doing derivatives. Musicians will often not listen to other musicians in their own category, or they want to avoid sounding alike. Is it something similar to you, or is that
Uh,
something that you feel is an issue?
of being alive to someone, some
Uh,
game.
right. Is do you feel that that is sometimes a thing in gaming where with the major companies specifically, or even in some indie cases, because in the past few years we've seen a lot of survival games, a lot of pixel-based
Right,
games. We see a lot
right.
of those. So do you feel that it's a sort of a monkey see, monkey do type of situation? No one's really innovating?
Mm. It could be. I can. It's hard to say. That's
Mm,
yes. That's all that games like.
right.
uh, You know.
Yeah.
But as of myself, well, I think I didn't actually follow this trend.
Hmm.
Um, I've been just doing on my own thing.
Right. So
So
so it's more or less you are just very focused at creating the best games that you can make and not paying attention not necessarily not paying attention, but you're more focused on your own work. as opposed to
Yeah.
worrying about what other people are doing. So when you release a game, does it just kind of go out there and then you no longer worry about that and you just focus on the next task at hand or the next game or the next idea?
So when I was working with the publisher, I could just not worry about it and let
Mm.
the publisher sell the game,
Hmm.
like publicize game, whatever. But now as I'm doing the publishing now
Hmm.
for Steam, I'm worried about it a lot and keep sending out PR and like doing interview with. But I'm trying not to worry about it. I'm trying to.
I do want to say I do very much respect a lone developer. Many times we talk to developers that have teams of 10 or 12 or sometimes as few as 5 or 6, but it basically feels like it's just you. And does that ever do you ever think maybe I should go back to that because you released the main building. uh, I noticed that the publishers were Big Fish Games, Hudson Soft, which is very well known to me, having grown up with Nintendo, and indeed, Zero Rock Entertainment as well. And you released it for PC and Mac, the
Mhm.
Nintendo DS platform, and Nintendo Wii.
Yeah,
So, do
that's good.
you have any perfect? Do you have any designs of ever releasing it? First off, do you ever plan on releasing it for the Wii and DS, or is that an avenue that you prefer not to do that with your past experience?
Um, yeah, I don't see why not. Mm,
Okay.
yeah. Um, but the DS version, I'm considering between DS going to DS Wii U or PlayStation Network
Hmm.
because things have been changed
Yeah.
since it's 2010.
Okay. So yes, you released the original game there. What were your experiences like going
Uh,
from working with major publishers that you develop it, they take care of the sales, they take care of the marketing, and now it is totally you. Uh,
mhm.
is there obviously there are major differences. What are some of the pros and cons of going completely independent as opposed to working with a developer?
So when I was working with the Hudson, they were very professional.
Mm.
Like, they were polite and like have they had to they checked with every little detail with me that they might gonna change in um, the console version.
Hmm.
Um, everything was good. They took the marketing. They let the DS version published by Nintendo of Europe and did sell quite well. One thing I feel I could have done better was the deal between me and the the big company
Uh-huh.
because mm, it was one person versus like huge company. Um, I think I could have made a better deal.
So so it was basically just a matter of, I don't want to simplify it, but it's a lot of financial aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you recommend to anyone since you have had that experience of going from working with a major publisher, a professional publisher, as you say, and then going completely indie? Are there any suggestions that you might make to someone?
Well, as long as you can keep your independence while working with the publisher, that's the
Hmm.
best.
Hmm.
Um, but some publisher um, try to like ask what beneath their like trying to like modify the game as they want to, as they think it should be. So you should like have a clear line between what you can when you can agree, allow, or not.
Did you have any major? Were there any changes in the room that you are particularly dissatisfied with? Was there anything that Hudson said, no, you must do it this way? And were there any major concessions, or were they fairly understanding of things that you wanted to keep?
They were very quite understanding, and they didn't force me to like change the major aspect of the game. The case I was talking about was that another publisher, but the name which I cannot like. Can I? So
I don't know. It's I don't think you'll feel any repercussions from this. You can make up names if you'd like.
yeah, there's a company come the Sun like come to US,
Mm,
and it's a we that company really published the mobile version of Rooms 2, Rooms the
mm,
Unsolvable Puzzle,
mm,
and that was in like 2013. It's still a dark history that I want to remove from my memory, but they basically turned the game into in-app purchase, free-to-play,
oh.
pay-to-win game,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't make sense at all um, in this type of game because you have limited number of puzzles with a limited solution.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I honestly haven't seen any game that had such a business model with that kind of puzzle game. And
Yeah, I free to play or pay to win or however we want to insult it. I'm not a big fan of free to play or pay to win. I think we've railed on that before. Um, but I can't really see how you can do that with rooms, to be honest with you. It's a very specific start, it's a very specific end. Every room has certain items that you can interact with. Uh, it is almost the ultimate pick up and play game.
right,
For example, if you're just trying to kill time, or if you're on public transit, which I regret that I have never actually been to South Korea at all, but because I would imagine mobile games are huge
it is
there.
used.
Yeah, because a lot of people are in transit constantly going back and forth from employment. And so they need just something to pull out a phone or a tablet. They need something they can pick up quickly, something enjoyable with some strong polish, which this game certainly has. But what kind of transactions could you put in here? You know, pay here to move several rooms over, pay here because it looks like what you do in a previous room in the game affects
Mm-hmm.
something in another room, much like the number slider puzzles. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, I can't see how that would work out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I how many rooms are, because you've mentioned Room 2, the mobile game, and now we have rooms here. Uh, how many more rooms games do you think you might be willing to do?
So maybe in the future I might do one more, but
Mm,
for a few a few years I don't want to make more Brooms game because practically I've been like working on this game for 10 years.
mhm.
Um, it's it's quite understandable that I'm quite sick of this game, honestly.
As, because I do foresee that there's probably a limitless amount of puzzles that you can do. Is there a specific number of rooms per level that you prefer, or is it just, this puzzle works? How do you come up with the puzzles?
Mm, so, well, I just like, start with like a random like, arrangement of rooms. I just place them and place some objects
Hmm.
and try to like have some concept like this in this level you gotta use this object in this way, and I'm trying to make a situation the player has to um, use that go through that puzzle. Basically, mostly trial and like and trial and revision. I just keep playing and revise it a lot. For, as far as the size of each level, like I'm I like make a list of the size of rooms in each theme, so that if we player had played this size of room, 3 by 3 size of room, then the next stage will have different size of room, and the size of room goes bigger as the level goes up in on theme.
So in theory, we can start with a small amount of rooms, and then by the time we're done, it's the whole screen is the puzzle. Is that how it basically works?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so it sounds like we've got a lot of action going on down in the chat channel. So I'm gonna pass it off to Nick briefly, and he has a bunch of questions that some of the people in the channel have been asking. So take it away, Nick.
All right. So yeah, there's a couple questions. One of the questions, it's not really a question. It's kind of like a general statement, but what's just your opinion on it? This game has a feel like I'm in a theater house watching a play on stage. Not sure if this was an intended feel. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Theater house. Yeah, sure. That was like intended like fairy. We wanted to make it like fairy tale, like excuse me, fairy tale-ish. We didn't like specifically wanted to make it theater house, but it happened to be.
So it just has that. It just kind of naturally took on that look as you progress through what you were doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm getting a bit of a kick out of watching the fellow that's currently live playing the game for this interview. And he's hit and retry a couple of times. I do like the fact that is it possible to just get stuck? I mean, absolutely stuck, or is there a solution to every puzzle?
You can stuck. You can be stuck.
Okay.
It's in some level, like in theme 3 mirror stage, you can get yourself locked in a dead end.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we wanted. What what we didn't want to do in Rooms 2, but it ended up having it.
Okay.
When you're creating those, is there ever a point when you want to kind of make a level that's just really hard on purpose? Or do you just try to make it, as fair as humanly possible? But it's just something I always wonder with a puzzle game is how hard do you make the level at that point?
Well, almost so hard that I cannot like solve without walkthrough. It's hard enough.
I like that answer a lot.
Well, I'm of the opinion that a puzzle game is supposed to be hard. It is not supposed to be something easy, and in fact, if you make it easy, you're kind of cheating the player. The idea of to me, as someone that does not actually create games, I would imagine that the underlying point of a puzzle game is to make you think. So, not to disparage other genres, but in a first-person shooter, you point, you click, something falls, something dies. In a puzzle game, you are basically your worst enemy. Your inability to not think ahead, your ability not to plan ahead. Is that about how you approach games like Rooms?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Another question from the chat from Alucard. He said, "What are some of the coolest special abilities in your opinion?"
I mean, in the game.
Yes, that is the question that was asked.
It's kind of in the later levels, but in Theme 4's basement levels, you can move all rooms at the same time. It's a part special ability, part limitation, but you gotta use that to um, solve the puzzle. It just opens a whole different kind of possibility of this kind of puzzles.
I'm personally curious. The subtitle for this game is the Unsolvable Puzzle.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration behind the subtitle? Is it just this is rooms for people that were fans of the original game? Is this more or less a dig at them to say, okay, what you thought was difficult there, that's nothing compared to this? Or is it just because there's just so many of them? There's 144 puzzles in this game.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
so what was the reasoning behind the subtitle?
Okay, so honestly, this is just something that remains and then keeps solidifies as like you tell people around that this is the title of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first came up with the title, it was the story was about an unsolvable puzzle piece that the toy maker couldn't solve. And it wasn't just a magical puzzle piece, but it was. But then we changed the storyline, so the puzzle itself isn't unsolvable at all, but the storyline has some. You can like if you finish the ending, you can kind of relate what the subtitle means with the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
But many people often ask, why would I play this game when if it's unsolvable? But I think that is also a point that can hook people. At least the people can ask that kind of question.
I believe for the person playing it, it is almost unsolvable right now for him. So
I'm actually gonna
Oh,
jump
that's
in.
terrible. How dare we say that? Well, he is doing poorly. You're right. Uh, puzzle games are likely not his thing. But so you've mentioned the story. What is the story for people that aren't familiar? What is there an overarching storyline between the games, or is each game an individual story?
Each game has an individual story. For Rooms the Unsolvable Puzzle, it starts as a story of a legendary toy maker, and his mansion just disappeared one day, and the girl, the protagonist is the heroine, and was reading a book about the legends, the toymaker's legend, and suddenly she finds herself standing in front of the twisted mansion of the toymaker, and she enters the mansion. And then, as she progressed inside the mansion, she finds the hidden stories of the what happened to the toymaker, and. Am I gonna spoil it? Can I spoil it?
It's your story, sir.
Can you guys hear me?
Tell us whatever you feel you can without ruining the plot line, of course.
Can you hear me, Steven?
Yes, Fred.
So I'm jumping in, I'm butting in because I just spent the last 30 minutes feeling extremely stupid. I gotta say, extremely stupid. I've got a couple questions if you don't mind, Steven. How long does it take you to finish the game, Kim?
Me?
Yeah, you personally, since even though you've made the game and you kind of probably already know everything about it from a dead stop, how
Like
long
if
do
you,
you think it would take?
I guess if I can rephrase it, if you were challenged to finish the game in, let's say, under an hour, could you do it?
No, never. Under 24 hours.
24
would be
from the developer.
That would be challenging too. Yeah.
Really?
I
Is Is it
I don't know.
because
I didn't
there's
try.
I was going to say, is it because there are so many puzzles? I mean, there's 144 rooms.
I mean,
So
I would love to set up. I don't know if you're open to it, Kim, but
uh,
a stream of you going from room one to the last one and timing it, and then making it a challenge from the community to beat you. I think
I
it's
can
a.
I can I can use a secret cheat code.
The second question is, what did you grow up on? What I'm sorry if some of these points were already covered, Steven, because I was trying to struggle through those puzzles. So
it's okay. We saw.
yeah,
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I grew up on Quirk, I think it was called Quirk on Game Boy.
Or
What?
Quake.
This is like no Quirk, Quirk. It was on Game Boy. It was a puzzle that, yeah, if you've never heard of it, it was a great game, very basic.
Oh, KWIRK. Yes. No. I actually have played it. Yes. Go on.
Yeah, I was 8, 10 years old, and the whole family was hooked on this. Because you seem very young to me, and I'm thinking, what influenced you to build all those games? You must have like a long love story with puzzle games.
Yeah. I'm 29, by the way.
It's young. For what you've accomplished, I think we can fairly say it's young.
Thank you. So, well, I played a lot of games since I was at kindergarten.
Oh.
Played many 8-bit games in like Nintendo, Famicom, Mario, Mega Man series, and all like classic 8-bit games. That inspired me a lot. And then I jumped onto PC games, and I started to my favorite genre has been real-time strategy. Starting from Dune
Such as?
2, Dune 2.
Yes,
The first
absolutely.
RTS.
Of course.
Dune 2. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
of course.
Just, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I did a little bit of research on what Fred was saying. So Quirk, I actually do remember this game. It was for Game Boy. In Japan, it was released as Puzzle Boy, and it's basically just exactly as it sounds, a puzzle game made by Atlas. It was also released on PC and TurboGrafx 16. So if anybody wants to dig for information about that,
Yeah.
go to it.
And that was
But-
the unsolvable puzzle of the time. This is 20 years back at least. And my last question, and then I promise you I'll be quiet, Steven. My last question is, what do you foresee for the genre in the next 10 years?
The
whole genre, I mean the genre of playing puzzle games. I'm sure you're going to touch on maybe the Oculus Rift and of course the mobiles as the primary platform. But how do you foresee this whole genre evolving in the next 10 years?
Wow.
Yeah, I
That's,
don't. That's your
That's a big
unsolvable
question for
puzzle.
me. You can say that. I think people like solving puzzles, and it has been there for a long time, and it will be surviving. It will be as a genre in any form. Even in VR, which is, by the way, I might try putting the rooms Unsolvable into. I don't see why not you can play puzzle games in VR, and why and how and VR could make puzzle games even better. So I think it will survive in any form.
Actually, that would be really interesting to see. It would be rooms played via Oculus Rift or Steam VR or anything like that. Ooh.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Ooh.
And
Can we have that now? Can we see that released soon? How much effort
Yeah,
would it
good
take
question.
as people that do not actually make the games? We just enjoy them a lot. How much effort goes into making a puzzle like a game like this and giving it that interface? Obviously, it's more than just getting it set up for key mapping for a joystick or a keyboard. how much effort is in that process?
So most tasks that needs to be done for porting into VR is almost there because we already have controller support and everything is in 3D.
Yeah.
To simply put, you can just put the VR camera on the scene and that's it. But to make it right, it takes some time. I think it will take about 1 month to
Really?
get ready.
I say it like that because when we think VR and we think how interesting and how new the technology is, it's not really new, but how new to gamers the technology is. I can't even say that because it's not really new. But anyway, uh, we think it's a huge undertaking. So for it to only say take guesstimate a month until we can move our heads up and down and move the camera angle like that, and then maybe move your hand in the space before you to move a room, that's absolutely fantastic. Is it something that you as a developer or as a designer is do you how do you feel about virtual reality or VR or Oculus as a developer, not just a gamer or playing it?
I think it's very interesting and opportunity to bring another like more deeper immersion to the players. So there's more thing that you can work with as a developer. You can like work with the stereoscopic vision, and you can work with the what is that gyroscope. You
Oh,
can work
yes.
with the where you're looking at, where your head is in space. Like you can have a head tracking for Oculus. And we might have hand control in some case if you use the lead motion with it. There's so many things you can do with it. So I'm like I want to explore what kind of games that can be made and suit for this new platform.
Last question about Oculus. I swear, actually, two questions. One, have you actually opened it yet, or did you just receive the box today? Or
I've been working with a DK1 that I borrowed from someone else, and I just recently got DK2.
okay. And how do you
Have it up.
as what games do you play for it if you just recently opened it up, or do you have it just purely as a developer platform?
With the Oculus.
Yes.
Honestly, I tried to play one game, Among the Sleep. It's an indie game by some Nordic people. It's a really good horror game.
Okay.
But I tried with the Oculus One. Then I felt quite nauseous. I stopped it.
Okay. So I think we're really close to wrapping it up. Kim, I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. Nick, do we have any more questions from the chat channel that we can follow out with?
This is a general question.
Okay.
That might be a kind of a fun one to end on, I suppose.
Okay.
Is there any developer you'd like to work with on a project? Like if you had your choice of a dream person you could work with, is there any developer or producer or anyone specifically that you would love to work with?
Oh, I like that.
Oh. Okay. Well, I haven't thought if I want to work with him. Let me see. But I'm a big fan of Genova Chen, by the way. From Tech Game Company.
Mm-hmm. And what games from the company kind of call to you? What ones do you enjoy?
Definitely Journey.
Okay.
Mm,
Okay.
I played on other two games were also very great. Also great, Flow and Flower.
All right. We have a latecomer down the chat. He has at least one question, but in the meantime, until he figures out what question he wants to ask, Jake, I really do appreciate that. Again, like I said, I appreciate that you took the time out of your schedule today. I
Oh,
hope only nothing but good for Rooms and any other games that you've got coming down the pike. The shameless plug is Rooms. The Unsolvable Puzzle has been released for PC, Mac, and Linux. It was released on May 1st, 2015. It is available right now on Steam for 20% off, so it's under $10. There is no reason whatsoever someone should not purchase the game. It is definitely worthwhile. 144 rooms, and apparently at least 24 hours worth of content. So at least 24 hours in this puzzle game, or at least, and there has been a challenge issued to Jake Kim of HandMade Games from Fred, our illustrious and esteemed leader, to see who can get the game done first. And I think
I'm gonna.
Jake kind of has an edge on that one. Uh, I really want to know. Can we talk to you maybe later in about a month or so again when you have Oculus support for the game? And
yeah, sure.
I would absolutely love to see how that works. We have a fellow on staff that actually has an Oculus.
Mhm.
The last time he used it on a stream was not the best in the world, but I would be very interested to see what he could do with it on a stream.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that'll be
really do.
awesome.
But again, to wrap it up, we've been talking to Jake Kim of HandMade Games. He made Rooms, the Unsolvable Puzzle. Stop watching me right now. Go to Steam and download this game, buy this game, then download this game as soon as humanly possible. Nick, I think there's one last question in the chat, but other than that, I think we're good.
But in passing, congratulations to Creepy Enzio and of course the great C Pizza for getting the best questions out and getting keys of the games. I've already messaged them. Thank you guys.
Oh, one last question. Are there any Easter eggs, any hidden things in the game, or is it a very straightforward thing? Are you the kind that likes to hide little jokes in your games at all?
I might do an update. So far, well, the ending is kind of Easter egg.
Okay.
It's kind of hidden now.
So if that's the case, let's not ruin it, and let's see if anybody can find it. And if they do, drop us a line, and then we'll see what we can do about that. But again, Jake Kim, HandMade Games, Rooms, the Unsolvable Puzzle. Go download it now. Other than that, it's been a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night. Good morning for